Okay, we're back. What's going on, everybody? My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. This is episode 150 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Halloween ends discussion, an epic discussion tonight. Send in your questions, your hopes, your dreams, your desires. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We are live. It is Sunday. We usually do these shows on Mondays, but it is Sunday, April the 24th, 2022, 6:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here we are. It's been a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks since you and I have ventured into the world.
And you.
Me too. Yeah, exactly. So here we are, Tony, episode 150. We've done 150. This is the 150th episode. 150th episode. We started doing these in the fall of, I was going to say 1998.
2018.
In the fall of 2018. And 150 episodes later. We could very well be over 200 episodes, but obviously, you know, there's been many times where we've had to reschedule or skip certain weeks and days and things like that. 150 episodes. Congratulations.
850 more to go to 1,000.
That's it. Congratulations to you. Thank you for being my partner in crime here on this show. We've had ups, we've had downs, we've had crazy topics, we've had crazy questions,
moments.
We've had crazy moments, and here we are, still standing 150 episodes later. And Halloween Ends is on the horizon, and we want to open it up to all of you out there in the world of the internet, the interwebs, on what you want to see. Tony, though, before we do that.
You all right?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm good. I was a little under the weather this week.
Did you catch the C-19?
No.
The forbidden word?
No. I caught the regular cold that's out there. And,
right, that people have forgotten about.
Right, exactly. All the other regular shit that's out there. So I had a bit of that this week, but I'm good.
That's always fun.
Oh yeah, well I'm good though. I got Ricola.
Can you remember that commercial?
I know, that's great stuff. And by the way, if Ricola, you need a voiceover,
sponsor. There you go.
I don't do it for free though. So
if you're good at something, never do it for free.
That's exactly it, and I don't. So 150 episodes. It's hard to believe here we are. Halloween Ends. I mean, this is the great thing about this for people like you, Tony, especially because you're trying to sort of avoid everything at all costs.
Pretty much, this is going to be the one and only time I do this. With you, obviously. Let me make sure I say that correctly. Mm-hmm. The one and only time I'm going to do this with you because, I'm taking that same approach like I did with Kills, not watching YouTube videos, not watching fan theories, not watching what ifs. I'll watch the teaser when it comes out like I did with Kills, and that'll be it. I'll watch the trailer when it comes out, or I'll watch the trailer after I see the movie because it keeps my expectations in check. And I don't really have like a laundry list of things that like I've talked about, like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if, you know what I mean? Like, That's why I'm going to do it tonight on where I'm going to come at it. I'm having fun with it. So take what I'm saying for a grain of salt. I'm not like, some of it I'm serious, but some of it I'm also planning to have some fun with.
Well, and it's funny because I've been monitoring the pulse of the Halloween community over the last little while. And, it is, there is a distinct, dare I say it, fatigue that I think is setting in for some Halloween fandom.
I think we've been, no pun, but we've been trick-or-treated to death.
That was good. That was good. Pun intended. Pun intended. That was good.
Yeah.
But, I think you bring up a good point because, excuse me, I got a little tickle. If you see me doing that, it's just because I haven't done a show like this in 2 weeks, and I've been a little under the weather this week. So now every time I breathe in, I get that little thing in the throat going, you want to cough. I really actually haven't been coughing that much, but now when you're doing the show like this, obviously you're breathing and exhaling and doing all, I'm on, right? So you might see me cough a little bit, but you know what? I have noticed that there is sort of some fatigue that is setting in. I know others have noticed it as well. Our fine friends over at the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast have noticed it too. And I think that there are a couple of reasons for that. I think number one is Halloween Kills was divisive.
It's definitely
it's
what was this middle Star Wars movie that
Last
came out?
Jedi.
The middle one.
The Last Jedi, yeah.
Is that the middle one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right, because Rise of Skywalker was...
Force Awakens, Last Jedi,
Rise of Skywalker. Just show you how much I don't pay attention to the new Star Wars.
But to your point...
Isn't it just like it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like it in the sense that there are people that really love it, 100%, but it was incredibly disappointing in the big picture, I think, for a lot of people. And I think it has sort of rubbed some people the wrong way when it comes to their excitement level for Halloween Ends. I also think, too, that because Halloween Kills was hyped up, I mean, it was also delayed a year. And then you have, this entire thing where, you have people that are, or that were really excited for Halloween Kills and just off their rocker for it. And then it wasn't exactly what I think they were hoping it to be. And now we're getting Halloween Ends not 12 months later. I don't think there's a lot to be excited about. Excuse me. And I think that there's a situation that arises where fatigue begins to set in. And because of the divisiveness of Halloween Ends. I also think, too, that fatigue sets in because, and again, I've talked about this before, but I think I've noticed that, doing this channel, I've noticed that there's many different types of fans. And there are fans that are simply just, and there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't, as I've said many times, it doesn't make me more of a fan than you or you less of a fan than me. Fandom is just different. And I think that there are just a lot of, dare I say it, overzealous, obsessed fans that can sometimes make it annoying for
enjoyable.
Not enjoyable, yeah, because because it's very serious. I think for some people it's a very, very, very serious thing. And
I mean, I've shared that story with you growing up as a kid, being such a huge fan of Halloween 4 and with the friends that I could find who liked horror movies that I could talk about, which we were a very small group. This is pre-social media. I never had to defend that movie until I jumped onto YouTube and started making videos back in the day and expressing my love for that film and the flack that, and I'm sitting there like, I'm defending a movie that I still enjoy. It's my favorite sequel in the franchise, and it's number 2 on the list if I rank it after the original. And but like, not only just defend it, but like almost like in a life and death scenario. Like, how could you? I'm like, well, what do you mean? How could I? Like, I don't even know you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know who the fuck you are. And I'm defending Halloween 4 to you. Like, what?
Exactly. And it can be a big turnoff for a lot of fans. It can be, again, it depends on the kind of fan that you are. If you are also that kind of fan, then you will enjoy taking to the forums or taking to the pages and writing long diatribes of why that person is wrong and all this kind of stuff. But there are a lot of people out there that are just not like that. It just doesn't, and that's what I find interesting, right? There's just different levels of fandom. And I think the Halloween fandom especially because they've been primarily the only people on the block, they've been allowed to sort of fester and sort of run rampant without any competition. And what I mean by competition is I mean by the likes of Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Ghostface. You know, there really hasn't been, it's just been Michael. And
which is shocking that the others didn't capitalize on this run.
Well, there's reasons really for that, of course.
I mean,
right?
yes, I know.
But yes.
Well, I get Jason, but Freddy, man, that shocks me. It shocks me that we haven't gotten one Freddy film in this whole run.
I don't know. I get it. I think, I mean, the rights did go back to the Craven estate there a couple of years ago. So I think it's just finding the right people and the right story and but Halloween is an interesting sort of, it's at an interesting impasse right now because there are a lot of, the hype is now. We'd be remiss if we also said, which is the point I was trying to make at the beginning here, when I said that it kind of bodes well for people like you who don't want to know too much, is that there is hardly any info about this movie that has come out. And it is almost the polar opposite of Halloween Kills, right? Whereas Halloween Kills, there were a lot of leaks, there were a lot of things that were out there. Some were true, some were not true, but there was always things that were out there, right? Either leaked or whatever. With Halloween Ends,
oh man, I'm going back to like videos like, wow, they released that. Wow, they like other YouTubers and stuff like, wow. And now that you say that, you are right, because I'm not seeing, I mean, yeah, the only thing I'm seeing YouTubers talk about, and you haven't done this, thank God. And I don't mean that as a diss, but it's just like, I get it. You when you've built your channel around Halloween, you grasp for anything to make a video on it, and I get it. But
well, I did do
like they're doing set photos of Jamie Lee Curtis's new hairstyle. I'm like, it's like
I did
hairstyle, bro. Like,
I did do a font video, but I released that also on April Fool's Day. So I don't know if anybody caught that or not.
Yeah.
I was serious about what I was talking about. But no,
I got you.
It was with my tongue firmly planted in cheek because of the day that I released it on. But I think some people completely missed that based on some of the messages.
Yeah, you're right, dude. They're not really releasing much. They're just a couple still photos here and there, but not of the set.
But there's also that's right. There's also a lot of sort of tight lips from even from the set, whether it's from crew or whether it's from one of the extras or what have you. There really is very little that is coming out. And as Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb said to me the other day, or today, actually, I think you said this, maybe you said it on his stream yesterday. I forget now. But it's true, is that there are a lot of people that I think that are losing their minds who are not used to living in this kind of a world. This is what it was like 25, 30 years ago when there was no social media.
We didn't know shit.
This is, and I think it's great. Like, I think it's absolutely I think it's great. This is the way it should be. You literally know fuck all. And it should be like that until the trailer comes out. Now, the trailer's going to show everything and it's going to make up for the 3 months where there was nothing. But,
didn't Thor did that too. They did nothing, and then they just recently released a trailer, but nothing for months, and fans were like, give us something. And yeah, I think you're right. I think movies need to, even Top Gun sort of did that. Of course, Top Gun was, they had the COVID situation, so they were pushing the movie back. But we finally got an updated trailer here not too long ago of that. And I think it's cool that movies are kind of going back to that to keep the audience like at bay, because you really should be experiencing it for the first time and not have to worry about a fucking checklist going into the film, of like what has to happen based off of trailer discussions and Easter eggs that you're looking for.
I wouldn't say that it's a pattern that the studios are going back to. I think it's just probably what's happened. I think there's it's just sort of happenstance because of sort of how things are at the moment. I wouldn't necessarily feel confident to say that there is a trend that's happening now and that, they're not going to, because if there's anything that massive leaks and showing everything in a trailer and showing everything in spots and showing stuff early has proven, is that it actually does put butts in the seats. It's unfortunate, but that is true. I think that we haven't seen too much from Halloween Ends at the moment because For whatever reason, there's just been a very sort of tight ship around it. But I also think too, and I don't think that this is, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say this too. I don't think there's also the need, like there was for Halloween Kills. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least. But it's true, yeah. A need, but a need in terms of the. It's not the same, right? In order for there to be a leak, there has to be a desire for the leak. And I think that the desire for this movie in general is not the same as it was for Halloween Kills. So there could also very well be things out there that have been sort of leaked, but they're not catching on necessarily in the same ways that things have in the past, because there isn't because nobody's looking for it, or nobody has the right. I mean, again, there's a few people I know that are connected that I could reach out to and ask if, I guess, if, you know, but I haven't done that yet. Because I also too, as well, actually quite enjoy living in the anonymity of it. It doesn't bother me at all. I know it bothers a lot of people, but it doesn't bother me. I don't feel the need to, you know, make all sorts of shit up just to fill time. But it is nice. It's nice to see that we are in fact getting very little from Halloween Ends. And that hopefully our first real sort of look at the movie of what this could be will come with a trailer. It's going to be interesting.
You know what I hope they put in the trailer? Honestly, because if they do it right, it could be creepy. It could be creepy. Yeah. If you add an echo filter over it, and if you slow it down, play a little bit like a little blip of Frank Sinatra's My Way. Now the end is near.
Yeah, maybe.
But more of a creepy, echoey, you know what I mean? But they seem like, because trailers nowadays seem to be using pop culture music. As part of, you know.
It's true. I don't think they'll do that with Kills, but it's more of a Jordan Peele thing,
right?
but you never know. I'd say this though, something I do want to say. So obviously Nick Castle at, what was it, Steel City Con or whatever it was. Of course, everybody picks this up. I always find, I guess because when you are in the business, so to speak, the business of getting clicks and views and likes and people to your website, I understand it. But I just find it funny how people still put so much stock into this kind of stuff. Even after I've not everybody does, but there was, okay, so two things. So Jason Blum, a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked, when can we get a trailer or, you know, a first look? And he says soon. And the internet loses their mind. And I'm thinking, how soon, no pun intended, we forget. There's something that I've talked about on my channel that I haven't talked about in a while. And I want people to remember this. Maybe you'll remember it and go, oh, yeah. Maybe you've never heard me say it before, but it's something I affectionately call political cinematic rhetoric. And, you know, so there are certain things that producers, actors will either have in their Rolodex of what to say. Maybe their publicist helps them out in that regard. And very rarely do you go into an interview or some sort of setting where you don't have sort of these things ready to go. This was a tweet, mind you. So, you know, but soon doesn't mean anything. Because about 3 years ago, I did a video on the exact same thing. You can search Dave McRae, Jason Blum soon. It'll pop up. He said the exact same thing about Halloween Kills. Soon. It was a tweet. Somebody asked me, goes, soon. And I don't know how long after it was. Mind you, pandemic, Kills, maybe not the best, you know. But it's just what they say to shut you up. And when I mean you, I'm talking about fans, reporters, you know, newspapers, article. Like it's something that you will often hear people say that doesn't really mean anything. And when you really look at it, it could mean 50 million things. soon. And I just laughed, and people were glomming onto it and taking it. Oh my God, it could be this coming tomorrow. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It just is soon. It's just soon. Soon is, tomorrow. Soon is also July. It's just something to say to you to make you go, okay, and then you walk away. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just that cinematic rhetoric that you often hear people say, that you'll often hear it on the red carpets, right, when they're being interviewed, and they'll say things that are just it's like a sports athlete being interviewed. So what do you think you need to do out there? Well, we got to go down to the other end of the ice. We got to shoot that puck, and it's really good out there. And we played hard. We played hard, but they're not saying anything. It's just shit. It's rhetoric. It's like politics, right? So I often say that don't put so much stock into Jason Blum saying soon, because that soon was like a few weeks ago, and you still, and you still don't have it. I hope that doesn't surprise you. It's just what these people will often say. I'm not trying to sound, I hope that doesn't come off as pretentious. I don't mean it to. I just find it funny that he's done this before. It's what they say. And he knows that it'll stop people in their tracks. If he says soon, somebody might go, how soon? But he doesn't have to answer that. And he's not wrong. He's right. Well, whether it comes tomorrow or July, he's not wrong. So don't put so much stock into it. It's still coming at the time that it's going to come. Not any earlier, because he said soon. The other thing is Nick Castle.
I didn't even know that was a thing until you just brought it up.
Well, I mean, it's not.
To show you how out of touch I am.
Well, it's not. Again, it's something I've come up with, because in politics, there's a lot of rhetoric, right? In politics, and when you're dealing with a multi-billion dollar industry and a multi-million-dollar film, and you're dealing with publicists and actors and press junkets and being secretive about what you can say and what you can't say and all these kinds of things. There are often, and Jason Blum is a pro. I mean, he's been doing this for decades. He's not going to say anything that's going to put his foot in his mouth and get himself into trouble. So, it might seem like he said something to get somebody excited, but really it's just the rhetoric that you often hear from producers and things like that. There's been a lot of things that have been said like that, not just with him, but, when it comes to all sorts of films, so I always sort of just roll my eyes and laugh, because I just think he hasn't really said anything. He just said that to shut you up. Not that he's lying, but because the movie obviously is coming soon. But it doesn't mean, I think people think that soon means like, holy shit, soon. No. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean tomorrow. It doesn't mean that. Anyway, the other thing is what Nick Castle said, which could be considered the rhetoric, but I think there's probably more of kernel of truth to it, which is he was talking about how the ending to Halloween Ends is going to surprise a lot of people. He thinks the direction of this film and sort of what they've done is going to surprise quite a few people. It's going to be now that doesn't mean it's going to surprise you. You guys are going to love it. I don't think he meant it like that. I just think he meant it more neutral. Like, I think you're going to be surprised. Don't know which way you're going to go on it, but it's not what people think they're going to do. I think it's going to be unexpected. It's that kind of a surprise. Whether that's good or bad, whether that is a good thing for you or a bad thing, I think is left up to interpretation. I think it's going to be divisive again. I do. I just have that feeling that this film will also be divisive. Maybe it'll be a better movie than Kills, maybe. Maybe it'll be better for Halloween purists like me who really want more of that lurking and stalking and in the shadows and the music and, more of that there, not there. And maybe they'll do more of that. They'll bring it down. It'll be smaller and, more sort of intimate. But the sort of the story and the direction of the story and what happens and who dies and who lives and what it all means and everything, I think might be, I just have this feeling that it's going to be divisive again. And it almost feels like, that they're sort of preparing people for that. You hear Jamie Lee Curtis say, and I've said this many times, she said, well, the ending is going to upset a lot of people. Why would you say that? Why would you come out and say the end? And I'm paraphrasing. It was something like that. I don't know if it was those exact words, but it was basically that, hey, the ending is going to make you mad, or the movie's going to make or something. I don't understand why you would say that. Don't say anything. Just because maybe it won't. Now you have half your audience going into the movie expecting to be pissed off. Why would you do that? Just let the chips fall where they may. And if it might surprise you. If you don't tell people that you might be upset at what we've done, then maybe people won't be upset. Maybe they'll watch the movie and go, oh, it was okay. It was pretty good. Or maybe some people will actually really like it without any sort of preconceived ideas. But if you tell people, by the way, just want to let you know, we might piss you off. Don't do that. Don't say that. You don't want to say that. I tell you, and I've said this before, if it was my movie and I was the director and I had found out that Jamie Lee Curtis had said that, I'd be a little upset. I'd be like, Jamie, don't say that. Just let them be upset if they're upset, but don't tell them they might get upset, And so, yeah, it does kind of feel like they're just sort of, getting prepared for the backlash that may come. I don't know. Tony, what you hear about sort of, this idea that maybe this might surprise some people with the direction of the story. Are you surprised to hear that? What ultimately do you want?
If they say we're going to be surprised, what would surprise me, ? Is if they pulled an original Halloween ending, meaning let's just say Laurie's dead, Lindsay's dead, although I'm on the fence about her dying, and Allison's the last one standing, and wherever the final moments of the movie takes place at, where Allison thinks Michael is, she goes to look and he's gone. Yeah. And you just see her kind of raise her eyes up, kind of a homage to Loomis, what he did in the original film. Boom. You get the soundtrack start playing, and then maybe spots of where he's been with the heavy breathing. I could see them going down that road. It is end, but the evil is still out there. It will continue on. Is he dead? Is he alive? That's one way. Or everybody goes down in a fucking blaze of glory, which that really wouldn't surprise everyone. But that's because you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was just going to say, is that doesn't sound surprise. And again, you can watch the clip of Nick online, and I don't pretend to I'm not a body language expert. I'm not going to try and read into his micro expressions.
And surprise me if he's still alive. Yeah, that would surprise me that he doesn't die.
Right. I get you. And maybe that's what they're talking about. But also, too, you have to, whatever Jamie Lee Curtis says, and listen, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I do. As an actress, I love her as an actress. I've never had any issues with her as an actress. But you've got to take I find that, especially when it comes to this trilogy, whether it's her rah-rah about the trauma in the first installment, whether it's how she was helping to market kills, because I remember her point blank, and again, it's subjective. I'm sure there's people out there that believe this, but but it's her job. She's an executive producer on it. She turned. I do
have a theory about her character.
Well, I remember when she was being interviewed for Kills, and she said, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not paraphrasing this word. But she turned and she goes, I'm telling you right now, Halloween Kills is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. That is how much conviction. It is an absolute masterpiece. What David Gordon, and of course, so again, it's that rhetoric, right? That you got to take it with a grain of salt, where it's like, well, maybe it is a masterpiece. But since I didn't think it was, and the vast majority of people also didn't think it was a masterpiece, maybe just keep your mouth shut, don't say anything, and let the chips fall where they may, because now everybody's walking into it expecting a masterpiece, and then this is what we get. And I'm sure to somebody it was. And that's why I'm like, don't tell us we're going to hate it. Or maybe it's reverse psychology. People are going to get angry and maybe we'll all love it. I don't know. I don't know what the surprise could be. And maybe I'm thinking too literal. I'm thinking too sort of out of the box, but I'm thinking it's a Halloween movie. How many ways could this possibly? It's still a Halloween movie. You can't get too avant-garde. You can't. It's still a Halloween movie. It's got to be a Halloween movie. It's got to be a slasher movie at its core. It's got to be a Michael Myers Halloween movie at its core. So how much what do you mean by surprise? That Michael lives, Laurie dies, everybody dies? Like, are we talking about just those kinds of surprises? You know, I hope we're not talking about.
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if Michael dies. I'm sort of expecting that to happen.
Right. But even
if he lives, it depends how he lives is what will be surprising.
Yeah, right. You know. I'll be honest with you. If Michael dies, that's not surprising to me. If he lives, it's not surprising to me. If Laurie dies, that's not surprising to me. If Laurie lives, that's not surprising to me.
If Allison dies, that will shock the shit out of me.
Really, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
If they
pull the trigger on that, yeah, because they're setting this up for the baton to be passed to her. You know what I mean?
Are they though? I don't know.
Yeah. Especially because how her character was in this one,
I think
Halloween Kills, because she really stepped up into that final girl position.
She did, but
we just didn't get enough of it.
She did.
They felt like making that stupid hospital shit.
She did, but I don't think you need any movie beyond Ends. I think her arc, she can be a final girl in Halloween Ends, and you don't need to continue on with her after that. I certainly hope they don't. I mean, that's where I am. I'm done. Like, I mean, enough is enough. You know, for me, I don't want to see more Michael Myers movies with Allison. I mean, it doesn't make any.
Well, no, but I mean, like, if she was the last one standing, like, we knew definitively Laurie's dead, Michael's dead, and if she's like the last one standing,
sure, but that wouldn't surprise me.
No.
So I don't know what other ways. And then, of course, I know there's this rumor, not a rumor. It's somebody did a video somewhere talking about how maybe at the end of the movie, it's all a dream and Laurie wakes up in the hospital and it's Halloween 2 from 1981. First of all, that is absolute suicide. That is absolute fandom suicide. Absolute suicide. And so, no, I think the probability of that is about as high as me jumping off the Empire State Building and flying like fucking Batman. It is so low, it's not even worth a discussion about, in my estimation. But when you think about, you know, because Curtis is saying, well, I don't know if people are going to like it. You know, Nick Castle's going, I think it's going to surprise. It's going to be unexpected. People automatically jump to the extreme, right? We always go to the extreme, you know, to think that they're going to do some avant-garde thing like it's all a dream. I think people are thinking too much. I really don't think it's going to be that crazy. That's series suicide to do that. It just doesn't, it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't, I don't understand why you would even entertain that. You know, it's weird. It doesn't, narratively, it makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. So if you want to piss everybody off, yeah, I guess you could do that. But that's not what they've done. That's not what they've done. I think Nick's talking about just, you know, well, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to be bad. It could be good, right? I think it's going to surprise some people. It's going to be, you know, we've gone back to the roots and we got some stalking and some lurking and stuff. Maybe that's what they mean. I hope that's what they mean. But at the end of the day, for me, you know, the movie doesn't have to be spectacular. It doesn't have to be, you know, it just has to stick the landing. That's it. And now what that is for people is going to vary, right? But for me, just stick the landing and then just get the hell out of there and let it be. What I don't want to see, though, is any explanation for Michael Myers. I mean, there shouldn't be any explanation for why he's doing what he's doing. There should be no explanation. There doesn't need to be. You have to preserve that. You have to keep that enigma there. That's it's the most important ingredient to the character of Myers. It's what makes him different than Freddy and Jason and Leatherface and just go down the list. You know, we know the backstory of Freddy and Jason and Chucky and Pinhead and Leatherface and Ghostface, and well, I mean, Ghostface doesn't count. He's 5 different people all the time. But I mean, we know that with Michael, there's an enigma there. There's a mystery, an unknown factor, and you can't reveal that. Now, maybe if we think of this logically, because that is the most important ingredient, the why is the most important ingredient. Maybe it is something that they do in fact answer, and whatever answer that is, you know, they know is going to be divisive. Some people might go, oh, cool. Others might not like it. You know, so that's the only thing I can think of that would be extreme. You know what I mean? Having Laurie wake up in the hospital in part 2 and everything was a dream just doesn't. It's too avant-garde. It's too much of a risk. And I just it doesn't. No, but the answer to the question, the why, which should never be answered, but maybe they've taken the risk and done that, and they've answered it. Maybe. What do you think? That would suck.
I think one of the things that I won't be surprised by, given the way that movies are made today and the atmosphere of identity politics, I won't be surprised because of the time jump that they allude or hint that Laurie Strode possibly maybe gay or have a female love interest. I won't be shocked on that. I'm almost, because of how
disappointing Hawkins. God damn it.
Well, because it's the obvious, and it's just because you just watch how movies are being made nowadays. They got to get that in there. I get it, you know, and it would be a surprise that no one would see coming. Maybe that's the reason why Jamie Lee Curtis, because you know, how that can be a hot button for topics, you know, like, oh no, all of a sudden she's gay, and like I could see that ruffling some feathers, because you know, identity politics is such a hot topic. Do I care who Laurie Strode's love interest? No, I don't care. Whether it's Hawkins or a girl or well, not a girl, a woman. Whoa,
well, I don't know. Maybe it is.
Whoa.
It's a 17-year-old girl. I'm just saying.
No,
things get crazy.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised on. Yeah. Although what I personally would like is for her to die in the first 30 seconds of the movie. I'm curious. I'm kidding. Of course. 31 seconds.
Of course. But yeah, I think it's important that, you know, naturally people temper their expectations going in, whatever that is. Obviously you're not going to go in. I mean, you will. When I say I mean, generally people are not going to go in blind. They're going to watch the trailer. They're going to fish for all the info. They're going to be watching my videos. They're going to be watching other people's videos. They're not going to go in completely blind of not knowing anything about it. So people are going to get a good idea of maybe what that surprise or the direction or the feel of the movie will be regardless beforehand. But, but it is interesting. But at the same time,
it is 4 years, right? I got
it's
that
a 4-year
right.
jump.
The time jump.
Yep. It's a 4-year jump.
So Halloween 2018 and Kills takes place in 2018. So this will be 2022.
2022. But I think there's
right if I line that up.
Yep. But I think I think people are, I'll just say this, and then we'll see what the chat room's saying. So it's not whatever they've done. I will be very surprised if it's as extreme as some people out there think it might be. I don't think it's going to be that extreme. Like I said, it's too.
I mean, like the whole dream.
Well, yeah, the dream, or you bring back other people and this kind of stuff, and
bring back who?
well, Michael's parents who'd be dead now anyway. I don't understand why you'd, there's just lots of, I just think that people make shit up because they need to talk about something. So they go to the extreme and they come up with these wild theories that have no basis in the narrative, that makes no sense logically from a writing perspective. It doesn't make sense why you would do that. Where do you go? What does that mean? So now it's all a dream. And then what? What and then she wakes up in the hospital and now it's 1978 again. Like, where do you go? It doesn't.
She woke up
it's silly.
Reading.
It's silly.
Oh, never mind.
But I think so. Just to keep expectations in check but for me, yeah, I just want, as I've said many times on the channel, lurking, stalking, smaller, intimate. That's what it is, and do Michael justice. At the end of the day, you can respect the fans by respecting the legacy for which it started. I don't.
It's a slasher film. I don't need Hereditary.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. But and no,
MAGA cat. You saw where I was going with that.
And I don't think there should be anything to reveal. I don't want to see anything. Like I know people have also said what about Michael's? It's the mask. It's the mask that gives him his power, and maybe it's a silver shamrock. No. We must never ever know. The reason Michael is it's that unknown factor that once you know how the magic trick is done, once you know why Michael is doing what he's doing, or whatever the reason is for him being the way he is, the mystique is gone. The mystique is just completely stripped away. You should never know. You don't need to know. You don't need to end the movie knowing either. You can allude, you can hint to certain things that maybe the characters were onto, or maybe they're on the cusp of finding things out, or, but you can't just spell it out. And that's the only thing really at the end of the day, because I don't think Laurie dying, in my opinion, I don't think Laurie dying or surviving, either or, is enough for Jamie Lee Curtis to say, I think people are going to be angry. What? Okay. I don't think Michael dying or surviving, I think people are going to be, I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough to make such a bold statement like that. That's
why I think the love interest thing could possibly come into play, again, because of the culture we're in now,
possibly,
and how that becomes so divisive, when talking about
for
topics.
Sure. For sure,
see that being,
but it also
one way.
Yeah, it's a good point. It also depends on what does she mean by, I think the movie. What part? We don't know. I think, again, for me, the only thing that could be what is that one thing that could be automatically, immediately so divisive, potentially, and anger people, and that's the explanation for who he is. Why
they could also bring it in, because I know they're going to have COVID as kind of a background, supposedly, you know what I mean? But if they make that more of a foreground thing rather than be a background thing, that can also, you know what I mean? Like where you're watching the movie, but you feel like you're in the real world where, you're seeing them constantly going into places wearing, the COVID masks and all stuff like that, because like that kind of shit, I said, I don't need to see that. This is a fictional world. This doesn't exist in our reality. So if as much as you try to put Halloween in the real world, it's not the real world. But now you're putting it into the real world because you're making it a part of the COVID, the COVID pandemic, which is reality. So it's like, how much of that is going to play in this film could also be something that pisses people off.
Possibly. I don't think any of it will. I think that whatever COVID fears people had about it being there, I think is going to be minuscule, if anything. I just don't think it's going to be an issue, but we'll see. We'll see. It's very difficult to know. This is a very strange film. This is a very, very strange film, and I can understand why it's frustrating to grasp, because there's very little information. And what they were going to do before, they've now jumped 4 years. And the way Halloween Kills ends, it's like, what do you do? It feels very messy. It feels very messy. Michael was alive, standing in the bedroom of his childhood home at the end of Kills. So what do you? Is there I guess he's just gone. Where's he been for 4 years? Where's that? I don't know. It's a very strange. Strange. It's strange, and I really don't know what to make of it, other than the fact that I just hope that they respect the legacy by not doing anything that is too out there, too avant-garde. Just bring it home now. You don't need to sell us on any deep social commentary about life and COVID or anything like that. Just bring it home. You are a slasher movie first and foremost. People go to the movies to get away from it all. I know Jamie Lee Curtis is very social, rah, got to bring this in there, and that's fine. But
and because she's producing, that's why my instincts are telling me. But some of that stuff is going to be in this film. Well, a gut instinct,
it could very well be. It could very well be. But anyways. Let's go to the chat room and see if we can get some people going here. I'm still sick, so I'm still kind of foggy. COVID? No, it's not COVID. Fucking relax. Okay, so Super Chat comes in. Go to the chat room and see what's going on. Riker H sends in $5 and says, How did it 2017 have a successful 120 million opening weekend? Was it promotion and trailers? Do you think most people saw the TV miniseries? What? How did it 2017?
Oh, It, like the movie It.
The movie It. How did it have a successful $120 million opening weekend? Was it the promotion trailer? Do you think most people... It, because it was the first time that this was being brought to the big screen.
Theaters, yeah.
So
the Tim Curry film, that was a made-for-TV.
It was. That's right. It was made for TV. So, and that was 30 years prior. So it was a big deal. People were just very excited about it. The trailers looked great, and that's why it did very well. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Emma. I don't have my glasses on. Abducius, is that correct? $5 says, well, I am excited for Ends. It's a lot to have these 3 movies in the last 5 years. Each new movie hasn't had a lot of time to settle into the fandom. Well, I mean, Halloween 78, Halloween 2, 81, that's only 3 years there. But it's a different world today, right? It's because we're on, Mach 6. We're just firing on all cylinders all the time. We're saturated. It wouldn't feel like it was too much if there was no such thing as the internet. Let's just put it that way. If there was no such thing as the internet and you couldn't talk about it all the time and listen to people like me and Tony and other people and YouTube and search and all that kind of stuff, it wouldn't feel like a lot. Wouldn't feel like a lot at all. But people are inundated and saturated with movie news every day, all day, 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 every day, all day. That it feels like there's no break. It doesn't feel like it goes anywhere, right? When in reality, most sequels are coming out. I mean, look at, I think it's about the same. It's about the same. So. Movie Chat and More Part 2 sends in $2, says, I think Myers should have a new mask for Ends. Yeah, that's an interesting question. What do you think, Tony? You think Myers should have a new mask for Ends?
I mean, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like if they do a new mask, as long as it looks good, cool. If they keep him with the rotted, because by now 4 more years will have gone by, I expect it to be hanging on by a thread, because the mask was looking pretty rough there at the end of Halloween Kills. Put a 4-year time jump into that, so that's 4 years of aging. And
I laugh too, because I'm it's frustrating.
But the thing is that what you have to say is that mask is a mask that is commonly bought even to this day in the world that they're creating, that he finds something similar to look like what he had originally.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you would have to do that.
That's the one thing you can say, no matter how bad the mask got throughout the franchise and the original run. Like, I think the thing with like the Halloween 4 mask is a perfect example, is that it looked similar to the mask that he had in the original film. While it's not the same one, it shouldn't be the same one because it's 10 years after the 78 incident. So he's finding something in the store that looks close to that. So
yeah, narratively it worked.
Yeah. So they may take that sort of same approach with Halloween Ends, in that they'll ditch this mask and he'll find something. So then you get into that'll definitely be debatable, because there's a lot of people who are not a fan of Halloween 4 mask. I'm not a fan of Halloween 5 because you got to convince me that the 5 mask is the same as the 4 mask, which is not the same. They look two completely different. And then 5 and 6 though sort of look similar. Not much, but there is similar shadowing facial features that they did to the mask. Except the hair on the 6th mask is a bit shorter, I think. Trying to remember what the hell that mask looked like now. Yeah, it's kind of shorter, and like it's got the spiky hair thing going in the back a little bit. So like with this one, again, do you find a mask? Do you put a mask that what was his name, Aaron, that wore in the flashback sequence? Does he put something? Does he put something like that on? So then what we're saying is that there are other masks out there that are like what Michael had before. And I just think the probability of him finding that is, I think maybe it's more in line of something that looks like it. Possibly.
And it all depends on where has Michael been for the last 4 years. Well, let's think of this.
That's another question.
We've got to think of this logically, right? So, I'm just thinking of the way Kills ends.
He wears a Donald Trump mask.
But if you think about this,
hilarious.
Oh God, yeah. But if you think of this logically, think of it logically. Like I'm trying to think, and you can make these predictions when you think of sort of because the writers again are not going to take those gigantic avant-garde leaps. It just wouldn't. It doesn't make any sense. So where has he been? Okay, well, you only have one or two options. He hasn't been found, or he's been caught. That's it.
And if he's been caught, he's got to escape again. Right.
Because this is still there has to be believability in this world. So, he's either disappeared or he's caught. And I have a hard time believing they would... No, you don't necessarily have to see him caught. You just realize that it's 4 years later. He was apprehended down the street in an alley, and he's been locked up again. And maybe they take a page out of Halloween Returns, and he's on death row, and Laurie is visiting him on death row, and maybe he escapes that way, and he tears up. I don't know. It's a little frustrating because it almost feels like
they sort of missed an opportunity by keeping it on the same night, because you do have to explain, unfortunately, because the audience is going to ask that question. Okay, that we know there's a 4-year time jump. What the fuck has Michael been doing if he hasn't been caught?
Right. And the thing is that where I struggle is that, you can make that argument that you can't have your cake and eat it too. So you can't cherry pick certain things from certain eras of Michael Myers, right? So yes, if this was Halloween 4 or 5, when Michael is supernatural, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where he's been. I get that. But when it comes to Michael from the original film, no, it does matter. It does matter because he's not the same Michael from 6 and Resurrection. It does matter to create the believability. It does matter that we know this. And if he's just walked off into the ether and nobody has seen him ever again, then how has he been eating? How has he been surviving? That doesn't matter, Dave. No, it does matter. It does matter when you're it does. It does. It doesn't take away, because it doesn't take away the supernatural element of him, but he's not a literal supernatural being. So you have to have some sort of explanation of where he's been for 4 years.
Well, as bad as 5 and 6 are, where Michael was in Halloween 5 for the year between 4 and 5. He was with the hermit, recouping from, the gunshot wounds and all that shit. Same thing in Halloween 6. He's been, kept, with the Thorn group and the doctors and the crazy people there, and was, let loose when Jamie tried to escape. Okay. So they explain that. You're right. They have to do some. If they just leave it out in the ether that they don't explain it and we just have to accept it. Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna, it is what it is, but
it is. And I know that some people might be like, but Dave, you always say that it doesn't matter where he's gone, walked off. No, I know I've said that. But what I mean by that is that it's really about, that's more about, the ending of the first movie, where it was just a movie in and of itself and he's just gone and it doesn't matter where he's been or where he's gone. But, even in the Michael, and then you could say, well, yeah, but look at the damage that Michael took at the end of part, of Halloween Kills. He's literally supernatural. Nah, I disagree with these people that say that now all of a sudden he's literally supernatural. No, he's not literally supernatural. You can get stabbed in the back with a pitchfork and survive. You can get shot point blank and survive. The problem is that the more they do it with him, they run into this explanation of, well, again, where has he been, right? The more he whatever kills, the more he transcends. It's just. But here's the thing.
It's just that line is so stupid.
But actually, it's not a stupid line if it's kept philosophical. But if they start to bring it into the literal world, well, then it becomes silly because what Michael are we dealing with here?
I'm thinking it in the literal sense.
Well, and I think fans are starting to think that now. Right, exactly.
Because they're bringing COVID into this shit somehow. It's like, okay, you're putting this now in the real world.
I don't think that. I think the COVID thing has been overblown. I think
but even if a brief mention of it still puts it in the real world. Because COVID does exist. And so even if it's a brief blip in the movie, you've now put Halloween in the real world.
Right.
You can't, it's like you just said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't even have something post-pandemic mentioned without, because once you do, you're going into the real world setting.
Right. And this is what frustrates me about sort of the decision they made in Kills to have this line, because what are we dealing with then? What is the explanation? This is why I find this frustrating. I do. And it's frustrating because, you can't have your fucking cake and eat it too. He's either this kind of character or he's not, and so when it comes to Halloween Kills, so now, it feels cheating to me. It feels like trying to please everybody, and it feels like cheating to me, where it's like, so now you have this guy who's taken, 38 shots to the face. He's been stabbed in the back with a pitchfork. He's this, that, and when he kills, the more he transcends. It's a great line. It's a line that fucking Dr. Loomis would have said. It's a great line, but it needs to remain philosophical. That needs to remain a mystery. Not he literally transcends. Like he's this metamorph. No, it doesn't. Don't do that. Still keep it unknown. Still, what does that mean? I hope we're not going to discover that. We find out that it's just this. And listen, I don't I don't pretend to know what they're doing, but I can understand, I can empathize with people's frustrations over isn't he or isn't he? You know, is he or isn't he? Because it's like, what are we doing here? You know, it's cool, but then I don't know, man. It's just another example of why the character of Michael Myers really is best suited for, you know, that's why that ending of Halloween 2 from 81 was great, because he died. He did not survive the fire. Why? Because no human can survive fire. Right? No flesh and blood. But that's why it was so great, because even he was mortal to that, right? And it was only it was so great, but how could he get up and walk down the hall on fire? Nobody knows. You know, but he still, you know, succumbed to the fire, and this just feels like,
that's why I think the brilliant idea would have been to do a movie, as I said, of Halloween 1.5, of Michael going to the hospital and the shit that took place between him walking there, like they did in the flashback sequence after he got shot.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot that you could do. I mean, we know he kills, what's her name, Alice, at the beginning of 2, the girl on the phone, and he jumps up, kills Alice.
Something like that. I forget her name.
Something like that. So yeah, I mean, you don't, you know, so obviously 2 doesn't exist, but because they did that flashback sequence so well, there is a whole 90-minute movie or progression you could do, because some time obviously did elapse between the time Michael was shot on the ground and then got to the hospital where, you know, he tore the shit up.
Yeah.
That you could do with a good Halloween movie. You know what I mean? You're filling in a gap there. I'm just saying, like, if they never did this, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they never did the 2018 film. They never did Kills. But if you took that time frame in between 1 and 2 and made that a movie of Michael getting to the hospital and just fucking shit up, I'd pay to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. But it's just funny. The more and more I sit here and think about ends, there's just 2 things that go through my head. The frustration of
what, evil doesn't die tonight?
No. It's more of this. It's more of this. Okay, so it's more of this frustration that I have in feeling like they want it to be this kind of character, but yet in order for it to, you know, go, they have to bring this and make it more prominent. I guess it's just the reality of doing a bunch of sequels, like I've always said.
Yep.
You know, the more you do, you have to open this stuff up. I've always said that on this channel. The more sequel you can't. Michael's just not that kind of character. Well, it depends what Michael you want, right? Depends what kind of Michael you want. I mean, there are people that want this thing to keep going. And listen, if it's a huge box office success, they'll keep going. So look, let's just call a spade a spade. Michael's not going to die. Michael's not going to die. He's if he dies, it will be an unknown sort of, like, you know, he's there and then he's gone. You know what I mean? And it's a tip of the hat and just ends and
right. You tip of the hat to the original film.
Right. It'll be something like that, because to actually see him die like Terminator 2, you know, where he's being down into the lava and he's got the thumb coming
Thumbs
up. I just watched Terminator 2 last week with my girlfriend.
That'd be epic. Allison's looking at him like, what the fuck? What's the
fuck's going on here?
Up?
But I mean, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, let's be realistic. Okay. Yeah. Now, let me rephrase what I said, okay, because people are likely to go, Dave McRae says, it is unlikely, even though I want Michael to die conclusively, like absolutely dead.
Like H2O, decapitated, done.
Yeah, or like the end of Halloween 2, 1981. Yeah. I mean, just like he's dead. He's dead. It's
or
over.
Even Halloween 4. You can pretty much say that that's, you know, a good way to end it. You know, shoot him up, falls down a mine shaft. Mine shaft. Yeah, I know.
But I just mean that I think it is likely, obviously, that they're not going to kill him. Okay. So then that leaves what?
Oh, you know what they'll do? Like you just said, they'll do the whole like Allison. I'm going to keep saying Allison because I hope she's the last one standing. She's, maybe grandma takes her last breath. She dies. And then she gets up to look to where Michael is supposed to be dead and he's gone. She does the slow head tilt up. The OG theme kicks in. And then you hear in a very faint, silent, like over voice dubbed, I met this 15-year-old, whatever.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You hear the Loomis speech.
Yeah.
Played over, and it's kind of like a conclusive. It's bringing it kind of full circle there, and fade to black. And
but it's
there you go.
Yeah,
but it's kind of cheesy at the same time.
I get it. But it's one of those. So there's those things where I sit back and I think I'm frustrated because I feel like I'm going to get something that is just trying to have their cake and eat it too. Like this, we're going to try and please,
everybody. It's not going to work.
And right. Like you have, you got to pick you're either this Michael or you're not that Michael. And I feel like when you're trying to be both, but who knows? I mean, listen, I never want movies to fail. Despite what some people might think, I want this thing to be fucking amazing. Dave
hates it already. It hasn't come out yet.
We all
do.
You're
going to get shit for it.
Of course. We all do, though. I want this movie to be amazing. However, do I think it is going to be amazing? Probably not, based on the pattern I've seen with 18 and Kills. So I temper my expectations and I say, I just want to... I want to walk away from the movie feeling like they honored the legacy of the 1978 original and they stuck the landing. They respected the fans that way. There wasn't anything avant-garde or crazy, artsy, weird twist, and I'm not talking about like, Halloween 6 shit. I'm just mean whatever they decide to do. There's some weird twist or, Michael speaks or I don't know, like something. It's just the flavor of the story and the direction that for whatever reason they felt was a better thing to do. And I don't just keep it, just you're this close to the finish line. Just bring us home. Yeah. Just bring us home. And, stalking, lurking, there, not there, smaller picture. That's really what it should be about. A lot of suspense and eeriness and things like that. Anyway,
although I got a drinking game suggestion for those of you who might rewatch this stream afterwards. Every time Dave has said avant-garde during the stream, you have to take a shot.
Yeah. Take a shot.
You're going to be toasted. You're going to be toasted within like the first hour of the stream.
You got to take 6 shots. Howard D sends in $5, says the whole surprising paramedic aspect that will piss off fans is that Michael kills aspect that will piss off fans is that Michael kills everyone, but then just dies from COVID at the end. That would be awful. Matthew Ferresi sends in $4.99, says the only surprise would be 100% victory for Michael. Evil doesn't just live, he wins. Evil dies. Whether that's good for or not is... Yeah, you know what, Matthew, I
don't know if I would be totally surprised by that.
I was just thinking that. I'm trying to think how I feel. That's a very good insight. Is it possible that evil could win? Is it possible that evil could actually win where everybody dies? I think that is possible. I think that is, I'll tell you right now, I think it is way more possible and way more likely. I'm not saying it is actually going to happen, but I think it's way more likely than some weird dream sequence by the end of the thing.
I tell you what, if they did do that, I wouldn't necessarily hate the idea.
I wouldn't
either. You know what I mean? But it's the execution.
Right. But then I feel sort of, okay, so everybody's dead, everybody dies, and then Michael just walks off into the ether and that's it. But the trick, here's the trick. In order for that to work, and this is the problem that you run into when you're making sequels, in order for that to work, you can't make another movie. So you have to, because then it totally, it waters down the impact of that if you then just a year later make another movie with this same Michael Myers. It's just kind of like, so Halloween didn't really end, did it? It feels like that's a good idea, but you've got to end it. It's got to be done.
Now, here's a question. If you do kill him, how do you go about it?
Well, I've always said, and I know people don't like to hear this because, they had him, or they had a big fire at the end of 18. They had him on fire at the end of part 2. I think, but let's not forget that part 2 does not exist in this new timeline. So for me, like I said, I go back to my original concept idea.
What about something that's new, though? If you had to take out the fire thing that we haven't seen, if you had to throw something new out there, what would you do?
I don't think there's anything that feels cheap. I think a head chop is, it's too H2O. It's too cheap. I think falling from the radio tower or getting, I don't know, you get smushed by a steamroller. I mean, it just doesn't, it feels too fire. You see, fire, what people have to remember about fire, I understand that there was fire at the end of the 18. I understand there was fire at the end of 2. I get that. But fire is very symbolic. It's a very ritualistic, symbolic thing. And it all depends on what the story is, right? So if the story is leading up to this moment, the fire can have an incredible impact, whereas you might even be able to bring that into the film as well, where it's like, we tried to set him on fire and it didn't work. Yes, but it didn't work because of this, and then they make sure that they get that, whatever that little thing is, they correct that. And maybe the correction is that, again, Laurie didn't stay. Laurie left because she was mortally injured. Well, she almost was, right? So she left. And that's why I've always felt, and I know people are sick of hearing it, but hopefully you can read between the lines, understand what I'm talking about. When you think of my idea that I had in my concept, it was all about Laurie and Michael dying together, right? It was about her sacrificing herself to save her family, okay? Because she knew she needed, and she jumped onto Michael while he was on fire, jumped onto Michael. The two of them were fighting. They burned it. It was epic. It was absolutely epic. It wasn't just a fire. You know what I mean? There was more to it. There was a lot of symbolism, a lot of layers around it, a lot of heart, a lot of weight to it. And I think if there's, again, I don't know if David Gordon Green and Danny McBride have written, and I'm not talking about elevated horror. I'm just saying that I think the story needs a little more meat to it in order to be able to pull off something like that. Because besides that, the only thing I can think of then is Michael walking off into the ether. Where you don't need something layered, a profound ending. But I'm hoping for something a little more profound. I'm hoping for something a little more meaningful, philosophical than just, some ending we've seen 55,000 times. You know as well as I do, I've said this on the channel many times, I don't want to see a cliffhanger ending where his eyes suddenly open or he suddenly, sits up and it cuts to black. And what is that? That's gimmicky. That's nonsense. I will be livid, and all of you should be absolutely pissed off to your gills if that's the way that they fucking end it. Some 80s cliffhanger ending that it's like, what is going on here, right? That's why that idea that that idea that we had gone back to Friday the 13th, but last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Friday the 13th, the ending of Friday the 13th part 4, the final chapter, is a great way to end Halloween Ends. So what do I mean by that? Well, not literally, obviously, they're two completely different films, but it's that it's more of that, not philosophical, but well, it is, but it's that they did it without Jason. right? Because you have Tommy hugging his sister and he just suddenly looks at the camera and he's got this weird look and it cuts to black. Now, obviously they made other movies, but the point I'm making is that doing that, ending a movie like that, that's a little smarter for a slasher movie, right? We got to understand what's a fucking, but it's a little smarter. It's got a little more layers there. It's ooh, that's interesting. I wanted to, and then of course you just never make another movie again. I hope Halloween Ends does the same thing, not the exact same thing like that. That wouldn't make any sense. But I mean, the same, in the same spirit, where it doesn't end on just something we've seen 1,000 times. It doesn't make any sense to do that. It has to end with some sort of conclusive ending, whether that is Michael dying or Michael walking off into the ether. And, something to that degree. You
keep it simple, and the fact that it is a horror movie and a slasher film, you could set it up to where he's been severely injured, still breathing. Grandma takes her last breath, and Allison picks up that shotgun, cocks it up one time and says, "Not tonight," point blank range, blows his head off. The end.
Yeah, could blow his head up. You see that could work if you have a shotgun blast to his head.
Right.
Like not a chopping off, but
she limps over and she just cocks it once and just says, maybe he's starting to get back up, and she's just like,
and his head
tonight.
Well, and his head explodes. His head just explodes like Dr. Sartain. Yes, you could do something like that for sure, but it's got to be conclusive like that. Yeah. It can't. You can't end this thing. And I don't think they will, to be honest with you. I really don't think they will. But I say it as strongly as I do because I just really don't want to see that. I'm pulling for more of a philosophical, smarter ending.
It is kind of philosophical for Allison to do it because Michael did kill her mom. So she would be about vengeance, to seek vengeance and revenge for killing her mother. When
I mean philosophical, I mean, I could see what you're saying there. I mean more about a bigger picture sort of state of what evil is and it's more like, that's why I said, in my concept, it would end on, the Loomis line, "You think you fooled them, haven't you, Michael, but not me." And the reason why that's there is because Michael's dead. Well, what does he mean? You fooled them, but not me. Is Michael alive? Well, Michael's not alive. So what does that mean? And it gets sort of the fans discussing but of course it's talking about a bigger picture, right? Evil will always live on. There will always, you know what I mean? Whatever that is and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, let's go back to the super chats here. I feel like I'm all over the place, but that's just because my first show back. Let's see. Where am I here? All right. Okay. Did I get that one? The surprise will be 100% victory if evil doesn't just live. He wins. Everyone. Oh, yeah. I did get that one. Howard D sends in $2, says Myers won't die. He'll get canceled. What a twist. Maybe. Matthew Feresi says, if they explain Michael's motive, then I feel they have lied to and duped us. Wasn't the whole point of the sequels being erased to go back to the roots of the character? Bang on. Yes. And that's why I've said that, but I, again, at the very beginning, you can go back, watch those videos that I did in 2018, where I said that the more sequels you make, it's inevitable you're going to find yourself right back where you started. And that's why it is so, I know there are people out there that really want this thing to keep going. I actually do think this is the end, regardless of box office success.
It's the end of this timeline.
It's the end of this thing. Now, I say that with confidence because I don't think this movie is going to be a box office sensation. I think this will do moderately well. I think it will do as well as probably Kills. But I don't think this is going to be a, $300 million film. So that's why I say, regardless of how well it does, I think it'll do fine, moderately, and they will move on. I don't think there is a desire to continue the Myers story connected to the 1978 original, nor should there be. But, you got to temper your expectations because I don't think this thing is going to, Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Frank Riker sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you, Frank. $20. Says, I was with Blum, and he told me how ends. So Michael and Laurie are about to clash when it cuts to black, and next we see Dr. Sartain inject Michael with Thorazine, saying, I wonder what he thinks about when we sedate him every night. Oh, man, Frank.
Oh, man.
Yeah, maybe that's how they're going to do it, Frank.
And it's all just a dream. And
it's all just a dream.
Michael in the mental hospital.
Yeah, maybe.
He never escaped.
Maybe. Brandon Jackson sends in $5, says, for Halloween Ends, I like to see another flashback scene with Dr. Loomis at Smith's Grove cussing out Michael about where he'd learned learned to drive a fucking car. Yeah, that'd be nice to see, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't mind another flashback sequence, but maybe more in the line of maybe another kill or two from 78, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
I don't think you're going to get a flashback.
No, I know. Yeah. Probably not.
Booster Seat sends in $2, says, does JJC make more money as Myers than random... Does James Jude Courtney make more money as Myers than random victim? Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, for sure.
Victims getting scale.
Edward Nito. Yes, that's right. Yep. Especially if they're a extra.
They're just the victim, right? Yeah. And nothing else.
Edward Nito sends in $10, says, Michael has been selling shower curtain rings for the past 4 years. That's right.
That's right. Door to door.
With Del Griffith.
And he doesn't speak. He's the greatest salesman of all time, and he never speaks.
That's it. Mark Wren sends in $2, says, why does John Carpenter still have his ponytail? I don't know. You should ask him. Why not? He's rocking it.
Once you're comfortable with the look, then, you know, that's it.
That's it. James Fallon sends in $5, says, maybe you two have answered this and I missed it, but what were your favorite kills in Halloween Kills? Mine were the firefighters. My favorite kill, I think, was the, I like the firefighters, but
Firefighters was just epic.
I liked the guy that got the knife in the eye in the car. I thought that was well done.
I liked the older couple because you got to see Michael setting up, you know, creating his art.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool and creative.
That was good too. Yeah, seeing just watching him use that man like a pincushion. Brandon Jackson sends in $2, says, if he's caught, have it all Smith's Grove. Cool. Yeah. Well, who's to say it's Smith's Grove?
At the end of 18 and he escapes again from Smith Groves?
But who's to say it would be Smith's Grove? Why does it have to be Smith's Grove? Why can't it be some other place that we've never heard of called, I don't know, some other... It's funny, and I understand it, but it is kind of funny how people automatically assume that if he's caught, he's going to be put back into Smith's Grove. Maybe not. Maybe he's not there. Maybe he's at some huge detention center in Cleveland. I don't know.
The funny thing is, in reality, he'd be serving a maximum security prison. That's where he should be. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true.
In reality, I'm just saying that's where, you know, a killer would be, you know, they wouldn't be in a mental hospital. That's more like political to put someone in a mental hospital who's killed several people to go the insane route.
Right. I get you. Rad7 sends in $1.99, says, I think he's driven by a demon, not supernatural.
Annabelle.
Not supernatural. How is being driven by a demon not supernatural? I think that's pretty supernatural. If
he's driven by Annabelle.
He's driven by Annabelle. Maybe that's exactly it. Michael Peacock sends in $9.99, says, hey, Dave, sent you a tweet on the twist under Creatively Speaking that Judith's murder was never Michael. The assumption he was pure evil led to him transcending it and embodying it. Creatively Speaking, that Judith's murder was never Michael. The assumption he was pure evil led to him transcending it. And so you're just saying that because he was pure evil, it wasn't really Michael that killed Judith. So it was whatever it was that was controlling him, I think is what you're saying, right? Yeah, I just don't think it, you know, when it comes to, and I've talked about this many times, when it comes to evil, I mean, you know, you don't need to know what that is. There is no rhyme or reason for doing what he's doing. That's and it's all in that speech from Loomis. It's all there. There is no, reason, right? He says, I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left, no conscience, no understanding, and in even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, good or evil, right or wrong. Like he taught, it's all there. It's all there. There is no reason. They can, and what they mean by reason, they mean by like premeditated. You could say that Laurie, reminded Michael of Judith. That's possible, but he may not even be consciously aware of that, right? That's what it's hard for people to understand that. When I say there's no motive, I mean that he's not going after Laurie or Annie or Bob because they owe him money. It wouldn't hold up in court, right? You'll never see that in court. So what's the motive? He's evil. You can't, that's why people plead insanity, because there is no motive per se. So Michael doesn't lack motive.
In the original film, it's purely random. It's not
purely random. Yeah.
It's not, has nothing to do with like, he's driven to Laurie or driven to Annie or driven to Linda. Laurie came to his house. He set his sights on her, and the other girls just happened to, get in the way as well too, because they were friends. So that's pretty much as simple as that.
Yeah, people,
and that's what I do like about Kills. I like the fact that Kills breaks that tie. That Hawkins has that conversation with her, that it's not about you. And I was like, thank God, like, what I mean? Finally, someone's fucking saying it, because it's not. It has nothing to do. He's just evil, and
he's just evil. Yeah, he's
in his way. Like Michael never would have gone after Laurie at her house had he not been brought out there by Sartain. You know what I mean? He would have just kept on killing anybody that was in his way.
And it was an unnecessary thing to do too, because you could have just had Michael follow Allison through the woods. I mean, that's really all you'd have to do. But no, it's hard, and I get it. It's hard for a lot of people to
break that tie and that connection.
Well, yes, because Michael has had a motive more than he's never had. The only movie he doesn't have a motive in, well, prior to the new, films, the only film where he doesn't have a motive is the original film. Yep. Because you can watch that movie in its intention on its own, and that's it. You can also watch it with the intention of knowing that there's a sequel after that picks up immediately and I'm a fan of the sequel too. But certainly, yeah, the original intention was there is no rhyme or reason. There is no motive. It's unknowable. Like there may be, right? There may be something that is driving him, right? But he says there's a force driving him inside. Of course, he says that in part 2, but it's one of those things where, yeah, you're just not supposed to know. And that's what I hope is not revealed in Halloween Ends. That's what I hope is not the X, the X factor, the big thing that Laurie is talking about. Laurie, I'm still getting back to it, folks. That Jamie Lee Curtis was talking about in terms of it, pissing people off, right? Or that Nick Castle saying, I think things are going to be I think people are going to be surprised, by this. Or I can't remember if he said pleasantly surprised or not. Maybe he said pleasantly surprised. It's entirely possible. But what does that mean? So. I don't know. I don't think he said pleasantly. I think he just said surprised by the direction, I think. So who knows?
At this point, nothing will surprise me. I mean, really, with all the Halloween movies we've been given throughout the years, at this point, no, there really isn't anything that you're going to do. Because like, if it goes in a bad direction, we'll be sitting there going, yep, well, another shitty Halloween movie. Not surprised, Yeah,
it's true. It is true.
All right, Kurt Angle.
It's true. Jordy sends in $9.99 says Michael will represent COVID on Halloween night. Ever since 2018, they will lock up their homes and stay inside on Halloween, shut themselves in, which will lead itself to a more contained film. It's entirely possible. Yep.
Didn't Halloween 6 sort of allude to that they
I'd be okay with that.
Celebrating Halloween for a few years, and that the new kids were trying to bring it back, resurrect, no pun, but
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with maybe
I don't know, because the
whole
thing is he really only has had 2 incidents technically in this timeline. 78, well, 3 if you count.
Well,
Judith.
yeah, but see, because of all the murders that took place in kills, I could see that Halloween, I would like this direction to who was it that said that?
What? So like to basically make Haddonfield almost
Jordy.
like a desolate type town now?
Yes. I think that is that.
People are like, fuck this, we're out of here.
Yeah, because that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me narratively that you would do that you would fast forward 4 years. Haddonfield, it's only been 4 years. That was arguably they just went through something more horrific than they ever did in 1978, True. Right? Now imagine if Halloween 2 was canon. I mean, Jesus,
Forget
right?
about it.
Because
right.
we often forget that 2, every single murder that happened in Halloween 2 never happened. The murder at the hospital, that never happened. There is no such thing as Halloween 2 from 1981. So the only thing is the 78, the original film, 78 murders. So, because even though Halloween 2 is from 1981, it takes place in 78. So, but Halloween 18 and kills, my God, the murder is off the charts. So I could totally see them tearing down the old Myers house. It's been condemned now. Maybe the lot's been condemned. Maybe nobody goes there. Who knows? The town is scared. They don't celebrate Halloween. It's frowned upon. Yeah, I'd like that. That was one of the original ideas for Halloween 4. Of course, that was more of a cerebral approach to bring Michael Myers back because he had literally died in the fire. But anyway, that's a whole other thing, whole other topic. But I would be okay with that. I would be okay with that direction. Now, where you go from there, you take it wherever you need to go. But in terms of that premise, Jordy, I like that. I do. It's something that I could see myself doing because I find it very difficult to believe that people would be trick-or-treating. I mean, maybe, but I find it hard to believe that there would not be some sort of apprehension to Halloween in Haddonfield now. Do you know what I mean? Don't you think that, Tony? It makes sense that there would be some sort of apprehension to Halloween in Haddonfield now?
I could see that. And I could see it becoming a little bit of a ghost town. People have left. They've obviously, this is 3, well, you can't really say 3 horrific, really 1 horrific night with, because you can't really say Judith's death is horrific. That's one kill. And then 3, how many people does he kill in the original? 5 total. The mechanic, who gets his suit, Bob, Annie, Linda. Is there anyone else I'm missing?
Well, Judith, if you count 63.
Well, as an adult, I'm saying as an adult.
Right.
How many people?
4.
So there's 4 total.
Yeah.
So after this one, for sure. Yeah. Because he took out fucking the fire department. you know what I mean? Like,
so that, it makes sense. And to Jordy's point, it does make things smaller. It does bring it down. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with bringing it down and making it smaller. Well, that's what they're going to do. David Gordon Green has said that this is going to be a much smaller, tighter knit film, more of a coming of age story, I think were his exact words. And it needs to be. It needs to be that. 100% it needs to be that. This is it. This is the swan song. This is, you want to bring it back, put Michael in his playground where the character of Michael Myers shines best. I understand that people love kills and love I get it, but at the end of the day, Michael is the boogeyman. He's not a Mack truck that rolls into a town and it's not Michael. Michael's the boogeyman. There should be a ghostly element to him, of the shape, there, not there, lurking, stalking. Out the window and see a shadow. That's really what the character is about. And this is your last opportunity, not really, but your last opportunity for a while.
He
certainly
really he hasn't done that since really Halloween 2. They did do a little bit of that, of him, popping up here and there. But really since the original film, it's pretty much like he's a man on a mission. You know what I mean? And that's it.
Because the more sequels you make, you gotta, and I understand, I do understand that you have to appeal to a modern audience. I get that. It is about balance. And earlier,
but that original characteristic trait of his, that's what made who he was.
It 100%. 100%. Yes.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. And earlier in the show tonight, when and I apologize to the viewers out there if I seem sort of sporadic and all over the place. It's just my first show back. I'm still a little bit under the weather, so my apologies if I seem kind of disjointed tonight. But earlier I had said that you got to pick a lane. You got to pick the type of Michael. Who are we dealing with here? Because I think that they do want to try and have the best of several worlds. And unfortunately, I think that just makes things messy. But with
this one, they can, and it's like, fuck you, we don't care. Cause this is the end for us. So if they go old characteristic traits and they're like, this is what we're committing to.
Yeah, do it.
What do they got to lose?
100%. I mean, listen, the best, anyway, I could go on, but let me see here. Annie Judaism, I think is how you say that, says Michael is actually a part of Laurie's psyche. Philosophically, not literally, but certainly he does. Well, I guess it depends on how you want to define literally. But he is definitely, he definitely owns her. Well, it will be very interesting to actually see. See, that's one of the things that, and I've said this many times, that's one of the things that I'm very curious about with the character of Laurie, is now that Laurie is no longer, she no longer knows that it's been about her, or she now accepts that it's not about her. Who is Laurie Strode now? Who is this woman now? For 40 years,
where I think
it's been part of her identity.
The identity politics may play a part in this new one.
Maybe. Because of that. Maybe. But in terms of who she is as a character now, because her whole identity for 40 years has been the crazy lady who has been thinking that Michael Myers is going to come after her. And now, we're 4 years after her realization. So we're going to see a much different Laurie Strode, a Laurie Strode who has since, put to rest her daughter, her son-in-law. All she has left is her granddaughter. She's in a different place, a place of healing, but not fully. I think she will be in a place of healing. We are going to see that 4 years. We're going to see the end result of those 4 years of healing,
right.
But she's still in the middle of healing. I think she still has some healing to go. But I'm very curious to see who this Laurie is, because for 40 years, she was the crazy lady that lived down the street that was obsessed with Michael. That was her identity. And what that does to somebody, it really makes her realize that her whole life was a waste. And what does that do to somebody? To know that it was never about you. It was never, and there are people living in this world right now that actually go through these types of things for many different, not necessarily the exact same thing, but they discovered that their whole identity they've created for themselves is not real.
Anyone who's gone through something tragic. Especially a life-changing tragic experience. You never, you do move on. You do, go about, but you never forget. You know what I mean?
You never do.
You're changed as a person forever,
For sure. But in the case of Laurie, though, she really believed that Michael was after her. She believed, truly believed, so much so that she raised her children on it. She raised Karen on it. She raised her kids on it, on this idea that Michael, it's all about, you need to do this, you need to do that, I need to protect you because of the boogeyman's going to come again. She was the crazy fucking lady. She was the crazy lady for 40 years who believed that the boogeyman was coming after her because it was all about her. And just like the flick of a switch, she is told, no, you are wrong. She was essentially told that your whole identity, your whole reason for existing was a lie, is wrong. What does that do to somebody at that age? It's one thing if you find out your existence is a lie and you're 24, But it's another thing to find out that you've spent the last 40 fucking years since you were 17 years old, the character, since she was 17 years old until she's in her late 50s. What the hell does that do? I mean, the regret, the shame, the embarrassment that must do to somebody. Now, I don't know if we're going to see all of that because that's like a whole other 3 movies right there. But that is what that kind of character would be dealing with. If I was in the writer's room, and I was part of the team, those are things that I'd be thinking about. I'd be like, well, who is she now? Who is she 4 years later? What's she dealing with? And that I find that I'm looking forward to seeing. That I'm looking forward to seeing if they actually do develop that a little bit. They have to. You know, I want to see how she's coping with this now, knowing that it was never about her. Holy fuck, that would suck. That would suck hardcore. That would suck so bad. I mean, that's like the kind of thing that I mean, people, you know, take their own lives over shit like that. You know, that kind of realization, that kind of trauma that things were, I mean, especially at that age, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And I think where Michael should be for the last 4 years is, you know, because he's, you know, he loves to drive and such a great driver. I think he should be an Uber driver.
Yes, he should be an Uber driver.
And start a YouTube channel.
That's right. I could not agree more. Agree more.
He films his victims as he kills them, as he picks them up to take them to their destination. They don't 100%. Make it. That's what this YouTube channel is called. They don't make it.
They don't make it. I'm down. Conflict sends in $5 and says, the last 4 years, Michael went on tour, started a band, therapeutic inner trauma sessions, obsessed with agriculture and cropped the circles. Yes, I love it. Evil plows tonight. Follow up from Conflict. I love it. Riker H sends in $2. Says, is George Lucas allowed to make any more movies? Of course he's allowed to. He was never not allowed to make any movies. He's just been retired. No, he's been retired. He's been retired for about 10 years.
Billionaire. You know,
he's worth over $6 billion. I think he's okay. And when he's been tired, he retired when he sold Star Wars to Disney. So 10 years.
Yeah.
Reese Wilson sends in $7.99 and says, the Halloween spinoff we deserve for ends. Ray, the peanut butter on the penis bandit. Can you imagine?
There you go.
George Stiegel sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thank you, buddy. He says, hi, Dave and Tony. Michael and Laurie die. There is a funeral for her and a speech about the boogeyman. 1 year later, Allison is babysitting and the kid sees a shape across the street. Tim doesn't matter. The end. I think I saw that. I think as I was watching the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast, I think if it was you or maybe it was somebody else had sent in that cool idea.
That is actually kind of a cool idea.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
It's like a post-credit scene where Allison is babysitting and have a young kid look out across the street and you just see a silhouette of a shape.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
But here's the thing. So to George's point,
cool. I like that.
To George's point,
I like that a lot.
It's good. And to George's point, here's the thing that the reason why that is kind of a nifty idea is because you're not saying that Michael is alive. You're not doing anything gimmicky or silly. No,
it's a silhouette.
But it could be anything. It could be anybody. It could be anything. Yeah. It's more philosophical. It's in the same realm of you think you fool them, haven't you? But not me. You know, it's in that. Was that? Oh, but I guess that. What does that mean? Was that? I thought it's the same kind of thing in the same realm. So yeah, I think that's actually
a really good idea.
I think it's a really cool idea.
You could either play the Myers house theme as the kid is looking out. You know what I mean? Or you can play, like the old theme from the original. You know what I mean? And then you could have the Loomis speech come over. Yeah. Fade to black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's also a wink and nod there that you could have maybe a woman do the silhouette. You know, kind of a throwback to PJ Souls.
Deborah Hill.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, a little wink because she couldn't be a part of this You know what I mean?
Right.
That could be a wink and nod to her.
Yeah.
It's actually not a bad idea.
No, it is. It's actually a really good idea. And I think people would, obviously you would have a certain section of the fan base that would take it literally and think it's actually literally Michael who's standing there. But I don't think, like, for me, if I had come up with that idea and I was writing that, for me as the writer, the intention would not be that this actually is Michael Myers or the ghost of Michael Myers. It's again, it's symbolic, right? It's more of a symbol that there will always be a little boy that will think they see something, right? There's always a boogeyman to somebody. The boogeyman will live on to somebody. It's not actually Michael Myers, but it's somebody else's Michael Myers, right? It's something else, and that I think is it's and it's the same kind of thing with my idea. That's the type of
symbolism ending that I think that.
Well, that's what I've been talking about.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Whether it's that, whether it's the house burning to the ground and both of them
like
dying.
Aaron just says in the chat room, it's the shape, and that's what Michael. It's the shape.
For sure, but it's the principle. Really, what gets me excited about an ending like that is the principle of it, right? It's all about what it symbolizes and what it doesn't symbolize, and so it's in the same realm as it's the same thing. It's more of a philosophical ending, right? So whether you have Loomis, like in my idea where Michael and Laurie die together in Judith Meyer's bedroom and the house burns to the ground, and then there's just a foundation and it's like a couple of weeks later or something, and the camera's panning back and you hear that line, you think you fooled them, haven't you, Michael? But not whatever it is. It's the same principle. It's like, what is that? Is that, or you have this idea where you see the boogeyman across the street. It's the same thing. And that's what I like about that idea, George. So I think it was George that said that.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Great idea. Really. Yeah, really, really good. Really great idea. As long as people understand that it's meant to be philosophical and not like, oh, well, Michael's alive because he was standing by the garbage can. No. Very good idea. Very good idea. Yep, I could not agree more. Let me see here. George. Very good idea, George. Rock on. Very good idea. James Crew sends in $1.99, says, what if Hawkins ends up taking out Michael?
Okay.
I don't know. I think
Hawkins is probably going to get it in like the first act.
Yeah, I think
that's
Hawkins.
My gut feeling. Die. Yeah, he'll get it in like the first act.
Colin Murdy sends in $8.99, £8.99. I think is how you say that, right? Am I right on that?
Funny that dude's been following me on my Instagram, all my Instagram accounts. I always thought he lived here in Georgia.
No,
legit. I thought he was from this area.
No, Colin.
Wow, and now that you're reading, I guess so. I'm like, wow, dude, I was wrong on where you're from.
How about if Laurie and Hawkins take out Myers? A relative of the cop Hawkins killed in 78 turns up and takes them both out. Some moralistic fate, surprise, ending, and unknown ends. Halloween. Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously there's going to be some sort of redemption, or at least an attempt at a redemption for Hawkins. But I don't know if Hawkins... if he would, because he didn't kill, I don't know if he would kill Michael. I don't know if Hawkins will.
I think if you're going, if anyone's going to deliver the final blow, it's either going to be Allison or Laurie. That's, you know what I mean? And I'm pulling for it to be Allison. I mean, if they kill Allison, they kill Allison. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I just think that, I don't know.
No, I know what you mean. I think the focus will still be on Laurie and Michael. I don't know what that entails, but I know Tony wants Laurie to go out in the first 30 seconds of the movie.
Not literally.
No, I know. No, I think Laurie will make. I think Laurie will make it to the end of the movie. I don't necessarily.
Or what if she's killed at the beginning of the third act?
Well, possibly.
That could be a surprise that people don't see coming.
Maybe.
Now you got Allison on this fucking I'm gonna fucking kill this fucker. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they're gonna use Allison like that. Maybe though.
Well, because it would be a missed opportunity, because when you look at how they were building her character, I'm not saying that they were building her character to continue the franchise, but in Halloween Kills, they are clearly building her character to be something of importance. You know what I mean? She's getting the guns in her hand. She's wanting to go after and get Michael, going against her mother's wishes. Like, you're building this character to become something significant. If it falls flat, I mean, okay, that's the decision they ultimately made. I just think it'll be a huge missed opportunity, because as a fan, I'm hope that of one of the things that I do like the most about this trilogy run is Andy Matichek's, I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Matichek.
Whatever character, you know what I mean? Like, I she's my favorite in this run. I do think, like you go back to the 2018 film. If that chase scene of her running was just stretched out a little bit longer, that's no fault of her, but because of how well she was acting in it, and, and you're with her in the scene there, her presence on screen has been great throughout this whole run. I have nothing negative to say about
I like her.
Anything he's done in this movie. So I sincerely hope that I want to see a really good payoff with her. And the same thing with Lindsay Wallace. I'm on the fence about that. I understand if they kill the character. To me, Lindsay Wallace is, what Lindsay Wallace represents, and why I'm so much attached to that character. And I'm sure even a lot of people in the chat room maybe never have even thought of it like this before. When Lindsay Wallace is that little girl sitting in a dark room on Halloween night watching horror films, I'm like, that's me. I can relate being a kid in the dark watching horror movies. You know what I mean? So like, that's the relatability. So to see that character die is gonna be like, I get it. It's gonna be like, damn, that sucks.
One thing I would change though to George's idea about the because I think his idea was that it was Allison that was babysitting.
Yeah.
So what I would do is, the only change I would make to that is I would make it to really solidify. Now, again, George might have a different idea. He's come up with the idea. His intention might be different. So to be fair, George may leave his idea, the way it is. If it was me to solidify this idea that it's not Michael Myers, and that there's always a boogeyman out there, and kind of thing, I would probably not have it as Allison babysitting. I would have a
random person,
just a babysitter, and it could be in any small town in America or Canada.
How about Daniel Harris?
No, God. No. But what I would do is
Taylor Compton, because
I think what's interesting is that whatever happens. Let's say that's because it's a cool ending. Let's say it's a very cool ending. The ending, but I would want to put some separation. I want to put some disconnect between the events that we know, the story that we know and love, and the ending, so that there's a separation, so that it feels more of that it's not setting up something more.
So he said, it's after they have a funeral for Laurie, right? And maybe as that's winding down, you have the Myers house theme begin to play, and to create that separation, you bring in the Loomis speech, and you're focused in on this house, and it could be any house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you start to go inside this house as the speech is going on, the theme is being played, and you don't really hear dialogue. You know what I mean? Maybe it is Halloween night. Maybe everything, the boogeyman's dead. Everyone's getting back to, there's that sense of safety. And then, like you said, the kid looks out the window.
Right. But
here's the shadow.
Right. And here's the thing too, is that it would be, I would be okay with it being, it's not Haddonfield.
Right. That's what I mean. Anywhere in America.
It's anywhere in America, but to keep in line with the theme of the, so we'll keep it like middle America, Midwest, kind of town, right? But it's some other small town. And no, it's not Russellville. It's not this. It's not that. I mean, it could be, but I'm just saying it's irrelevant.
Not old Charlie Bowles.
Right. But see, the point is, it's about the symbolism of what it represents, right? So you just go to another town that might not even know what's going on over in Haddonfield, right? It's just, and maybe it's 3 years later, right? Maybe it's just a couple of Halloweens later. It's a town where they've never abandoned Halloween. It's a town where nothing like that has ever happened, or whatever the case is, right? Just to put some separation in between, because it's more about it's almost like
an symbolism of what it represents, that evil will always exist.
Right. It's more like an epilogue, that just sort of kind of is tacked onto the end there, where it's a cool little scene. You get a good kick out of it, and it's about this little kid who's like 7 or 8 years old, and he looks out the window and he thinks he sees, and maybe there really is something out there. Maybe there is a prowler out there. Who knows? But it looks, very kind of the way it's standing. It's like, ooh, that's kind of does look a little bit like Michael Myers, but it's not. It's not him. And they don't say that. There's not a moment where they turn to the audience and go, by the way, that's not my.
Well, yeah, because having people that you've not seen in this film, and all of a sudden this new people, that's where the separation comes.
That's where the separation comes in.
Because if it's Andy Manichak, you're going to think.
Then you're going to think,
is that Michael?
That's what I'm saying, right? And then you're going to think, oh, I guess they're setting it up for another one. It's like, no. I think the message that he could be anywhere, right? And when I say he, I mean that there's a boogeyman for every little kid. There's a boogeyman that really, whatever the case is, he's everywhere. I think that solidifies a bit better with it being just another, you know what I mean? Now, some fans will like that, appreciate that, get that, go, yeah, that's kind of cool. There are also fans who are like, no, it should be this, it should be connected, it should be this, because they don't like the idea of letting go. They hate the idea of they just want there to be, oh no, but I'm just a little bit, please, can it just be maybe a little more? But that's one change that off the top of my head that I would probably do, is just to make it some small town, showing that it will happen again at some point.
You could, another way to play it with, as the scene is unfolding, like we said, you're in a new place, Halloween's up, everything looks great, kids are out trick-or-treating, it's nighttime, you're zooming in on this house, you got the Myers house theme playing. Mm-hmm. It's just the theme that's playing, and there's no dialogue that's in this room. And maybe before the Loomis voiceover comes in, you could have Laurie's voiceover with Tommy's dialogue of, when he's like, she's saying, she talks to him about the boogeyman. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Kind of like in an echoey type, overlay, it's that conversation, which leads the kid to look out the window to see this shape. And then as the kid sees the shape, boom, you click in, you hit Loomis's speech.
Mm-hmm. Could do that too. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. But shout out to George again for coming up with that idea, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, whether it's that idea, whether it's my idea for my concept, it's that kind of thing that I'm talking about, and you've illustrated it so well with your idea, George. That's the kind of thing, that's the kind of ending Halloween needs. That doesn't mean that whatever they've chosen, if it's nothing like what we've, thought of, that it's not going to work. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. But you can't just have it end, with a cliffhanger, setting it like it's got to be a little smarter. Halloween, there's an opportunity. It's got to be just a little smarter. I'm not talking about elevated like Hereditary, but maybe the ending's got to be a tiny bit elevated. And what I mean by that is just a little smarter, where you go, okay, well done. Well done, boys. Well done. That's what you need. You can't have something that's just run-of-the-mill, traditional, gimmicky cliffhanger where it's like, his eyes open.
Which is probably what we're going to get.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean? It's like that. We're going to get that, and that's going to be it.
I hope that's not what we get. And I would like to think that David Gordon Green and company are smarter than that, and know that maybe they haven't chosen what we've been discussing here, but there's something they've had in their pocket, because it's already shot now, but it's something they implemented where it would at least, not everybody's going to like it. You can't please everybody. No. But as long as
our idea, you're not going to please everybody.
Of course not. But what
Or not, sorry, not George's idea.
George's idea.
Give credit where credit is due.
Right. But the idea of having a more of a layered ending like that, it respects the legacy, and it might, some people might go, but it's not gonna piss anybody off. It's not gonna piss anybody off. Some people are gonna like it more than others, but you're not gonna piss anybody off. And it's such a really cool way to say, and the end. You know what I mean? And that's right, exactly. Or what you could do, and this is shout out to Darren Sands of the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast as well, who I know mentioned this on his stream yesterday, and he also mentioned it on my channel a couple of weeks ago when he was on. What would you do, Tony, if say it had an ending that was like that, and then the camera's like pulling back and you see the town or something, and you just hear the beginning of bum 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 bum. You hear the beginning of the Season of the Witch music, but you don't hear all of it. You just hear bum 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 bum, and then it cuts to black.
Right before he gets into the chorus.
Right before it gets into the chorus, it cuts to black. Now, some people would be like,
opens up a Season of the Witch idea, for sure.
And it's not, of course, some people would take it literally to mean that, Michael Myers is connected to. No, it's separate again. It doesn't mean that Season of the Witch was a part of this the whole time.
That's going to be hard to separate it, because everybody's going to connect it.
Well, everybody's going to go, it totally. No, it just means that, hey, maybe hint, maybe we're going to do this next.
We're not done just yet.
Yeah, like we're going to do that, even though it has nothing to do with this. But some people are going to.
The masks are in. Sorry, the masks are in this. They're in the movie. They're there.
I know.
So I mean, it's not it's actually not a far-fetched idea, because you do see the pumpkin and the witch, and
the only thing is
skeleton.
Touche. Good point. The only thing I will say about that is I just don't want. Okay, make it part of the same universe if you want. The problem is this. Here's the problem. Here's the problem you run into.
What, we get to bring our boy Tom Atkins back? Yeah!
Here's the problem. The original Halloween, which is canon in this new timeline, is fiction in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. So...
Halloween Season of the Witch is like Deadpool. It's meta.
No, but
it breaks the fourth wall.
Right, but here's the thing. So, are the little kids wearing Season of the Witch masks because
Silver Shamrock.
Right. Because they would have to be, in order for it to, they can't be part of they can't be part of the same universe. Now, if you want
to, they got the masks in there, maybe.
But hear me out. I'm gonna explain why it's a problem. So, it's a problem, like I said, because the original Halloween is fiction in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Right.
So you can't now do a sequel to Season of the Witch and make Halloween 18 and these 3 movies canon, because, that doesn't make any sense, that doesn't make any sense, right? So you would have to say that, the reason why we're seeing little kids with Silver Shamrock masks in 18 and Kills is because Halloween 3 Halloween 3, which doesn't make any sense either. It makes no sense. That's why you should never do this. I know. And it just, because then you'd have to say that Halloween 3 is fiction in these new 3 movies.
What if the surprise is Tom Atkins comes to kill Michael?
Oh, I'm not saying it. I'm all over the place. Hopefully what I'm trying to say is that, so in one instance, I'm all over the place. Hopefully you know what I'm trying to say.
Fine.
But I'm thinking, people are saying, they should just do a direct sequel to part 3. Okay, but you can't include 18 Halloween. Kills and ends. Right. You would have to say that, then the silver shamrock masks we see, you know what I mean? I mean, it would just be it's just a thing. I guess you can't take it too seriously. But it makes no fucking sense. I will tell you that. You can't have,
and you know what? Because it doesn't make any sense. That's the road that they're gonna take.
They can't
and
do
Dave's
it.
Gonna make a 3-hour video if that happens.
Oh, I can tell you right now. I can tell you right now. I see people in the chat saying, I think that's what they're going to do. I can tell you right now, there's a high probability that they're going to move into the season of the witch.
Oh,
area.
For sure. I totally see that coming.
It's
how, I don't know, but
it's something that I watched something with Jason Blum a few months ago. He was asked about it on Instagram. It was a live Instagram feed. He was asked about it, and he inconspicuously dodged the question and gave it kind of we're kind of, I guarantee you it makes the most sense because there's already a built-in fan base. Whether you do a sequel or a remake or a series or a theatrical released film, I don't know, but in terms of the IP and the property, it makes the most logical sense business-wise. It makes the most logical sense to sidestep to season of the... Now, again, what does that entail? I don't know. Remake, sequel, requel, reboot, television series? Nobody knows yet, but in terms of Season of the Witch, it makes the most sense to do that.
With Season of the Witch, do you kind of do a Stranger Things 80s type vibe to it? Like set it in that period still?
I think it depends on what you... I think if you remake it, yeah, sure, why not? Why not? I think if you're doing a sequel to it, I think you got to set it present day.
Modern.
I don't like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch enough to care what they do with it. I like the movie, I do. But there are people out there that are Halloween 3 purists, believe it or not, and find it blasphemous if they even remake it. I actually think it's ripe for a remake. I think you could make a better, more satisfying movie today with today's technology, and just deliver one hell of a creepy, eerie film, but I could also see them doing a sequel to it. But anyway, so yeah, it's kind of a conundrum there if you take, because fans do this, right? If you just look at the Season of the Witch masks in 18 and Kills as just little Easter eggs, just kind of little tip of the hat, and just leave it there, in your conscious mind, just leave it there, fine. That's fine, because you cannot make a Season of the Witch movie connected to you can't do it. You can't have the story of Halloween 3 canon in the story of 18 Kills and Ends. It doesn't make any sense. You just can't do that. So,
Never know.
All right. Let's see here. Where was I with these super chats? Reese Wilson got that. Yes, George got that. James Cruz says, what if Hawkins ends up taking out... Oh, no, I got that. Colin Murray got that. Booster Seat. Would you like if Sheriff Meeker returns and ends? No,
because now you're connecting 4 and 5.
Yeah,
if he's playing Sheriff Meeker.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Well,
you mean
not
Bo
5,
Starr?
But 4 for sure.
Would I like Bo Starr to return? Bo Starr is he still alive? If he is, he's in rough shape, I think. Is he still alive? Bo Starr? I don't know. No, I wouldn't want him there. Wouldn't want him there. It makes no sense. Rad7's $1.99. If this is ends, I need to know why he kills. IJS. I don't know what IJS means.
I don't know either.
Not sure.
I don't keep up with the acronyms.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means, but I will say, well, listen, Rad, you're not alone. There are a lot of people out there that definitely want to know, that don't care, that want to know. I'm not one of those people. I think it ruins the integrity of the character. I think it ruins the character. I think it does. And which is another reason why you've got to stop here. You have to stop. You cannot
Just
continue.
gotta.
Yeah, you have to. That doesn't mean you can't revisit the character and remake the story again at some point down the road, but you cannot keep going with movie after movie and expect not to be where you were before you decided to cancel all the sequels. It's inevitable. I've said it for 4 years now. The more sequels you make, the shittier and shittier they will become. That's not me saying or suggesting that Halloween, Ends is going to be shitty. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's inevitable that if they want to continue making more and more, eventually it's you know what I mean? It's going to happen. And then you're going to find yourself right back where you started before 18. So end it. Get out. As soon as you can. Yeah. Michael Peacock sends in 1999. Thanks, buddy. Says, clarifying the twist. Michael didn't kill Judith. The boyfriend did. Everyone believed Michael did it, that he was evil. Begs the question, was he always evil, or did society imprint it on him so he embodied it? Interesting.
Well,
interesting.
My only question is then at the beginning of the 78 film, why did young Michael have a knife in his hand? And
right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah, it's
that whole sequence basically becomes what?
Yeah. Well,
question.
Yeah. No, you do run into that, and you'd have to explain that. I think it's a bit coincidental that the boyfriend kills Judith, and Michael also happens to be the kind of kid that would suddenly get blamed or that he ends up being the kind of kid that would end up falling in a mental state.
He takes the fall.
Well, yeah. It's not just he takes the fall. It's just that he's the kind of kid that doesn't speak up to say that he didn't do it. Right. I think that's an interesting take on a remake, on a reimagining of the story. I think that's an interesting take, but not here. It's too set in stone. You'd have a lot of backpedaling and a lot of rejigging to do. David Kincaid sends in 1999, says, thanks to Halloween Kills, I'm not getting my hopes up for ends. Halloween 18 was a decent attempt, but I really wish they had ended it right there. Regardless, excellent content as always, guys. Keep it coming. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the show. I feel a little disjointed tonight because I've been under the weather all week, which is why I haven't been around. So I'm glad people are enjoying the the content for today's 150th episode. Let me see here. Justin Hill sends in $20. Says, what if Allison and Laurie...
You forgot, Aaron brought up another point. Judith literally says Michael when he enters the room right before he kills her.
That's true too. Yeah, that's true
so
too.
I mean, like, it's kind of hard to pull the boyfriend off.
I think it's an interesting take in a
remake. And then again, unless the boyfriend's name just coincidentally is Michael. Yeah, but...
I think it's an interesting take, like an interesting angle that you could add in like a remake.
Yeah,
something interesting. Justin Hill says, what if Allison and Laurie are put in jail for the murder of Michael because even though he's done what he's done, it's still illegal to kill someone? I think that could be why Jamie said fans will be pissed. That's interesting.
Unless it's self-defense.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go that route, Justin, because I think, to Tony's point, you know, Michael's going to be on the offense, right? He's going to be on the prowl. He's going to be on the attack. And so for the most part, whenever you come up against him, you are always in some sort of self-defense position. So I think, yeah, it's interesting, but I don't think that's what they'll do. I don't think that's what she means. I don't know what she means. And I think that's why I find it so frustrating because, you know, Jamie tends to, she's a showman, right? You know, she sells it. I don't necessarily believe what comes out of her mouth. I'm not saying that she's deliberately trying to be deceptive. It's just, you know, this is also a woman who said that Halloween Kills is a masterpiece. And that's very, I say this with all due respect to Jamie Lee Curtis, that's quite some hyperbole right there. I mean, masterpiece? Shawshank Redemption's a masterpiece. Okay?
The original Halloween's a masterpiece.
Right, yeah. I don't think we should be throwing the word masterpiece. Like the word masterpiece, like really there's probably only about, I don't know, maybe 10 masterpieces in the history of cinema. Like, I mean, really, maybe there's a bit more, but I mean, you get my point though, right? It's not something that you should just throw around like that, especially with your own movie. You know, I think it, now, if she genuinely believes that, okay, fine. But it's difficult to gauge whether she's just being hyperbolic and just kind of basically saying that this is so great. But the way she turned, she turned to the camera. It was like a Good Morning America thing or whatever. And she was like, it is a masterpiece. I'm telling you right now, what David Gordon Green has done, this is a masterpiece.
She's selling the sizzle, man.
That's exactly my point, right? So when Jamie Lee Curtis says that, I think people are going to get upset about, well, what does that even mean? And that's why I think it is such a, with all due respect, I think it's a stupid thing to say. Because what does, I don't know what it means. Why would you say that before the movie even comes out? And we've had a chance to, no, we'll be the judge whether it angers us, because maybe it won't. Maybe it actually won't. So don't like, nothing says we're not really confident in this movie than like, so this might piss you off. I mean, don't say that. Don't say that. So it's hard to gauge what, I don't know. It's a very weird approach. Yeah, I just would not have said that. You know, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie, if you're watching, we love you, but don't say that. Don't say that. Intel Wild sends in Intel, my man Intel, great to see you here. Sends in $5. Says, Dave, Jamie Lee Curtis got the piece right about kills. It was a piece of shit.
There you go.
Intel has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. Cody Snyder, my man, says, is there another show tomorrow night? Oh, Two Dude Show. No.
I gotta work.
Yeah, no, there is no Two Dude Show tomorrow night. No, we'll be back next Monday.
I got a client shoot tomorrow night or evening.
Yeah. Southpaw 82, $2 says Dr. Loomis origin film. I wouldn't mind it, honestly. Not for me. I've said it many times that I don't want any origin film with Dr. Loomis. I don't want a series. I don't need to see. I don't need to. I personally, and I'm not saying that Southpaw 82 is like this. I can intellectualize it, so I understand, but I will never understand this need we have in the world now, in the world of fandom, to know everything, to have everything connected.
Dave!
Tony, it blows my mind how so many people feel the need to have everything connected. But just, they need to know everything. They need to have all the answers. They can't. I don't know if it's our age, and I don't say that. I mean, it's not like we're old. We're in our 40s, but I just can't help but feel like, what's wrong with reveling in anonymity, with just filling in the blanks yourself, with imagining it in your own mind?
They don't want that anymore.
They don't, and it's just
it's not just picking on a generation. It's people our age. It's older people. It's everyone.
Yeah, fair enough.
Everyone's mindset. Yes. Everyone's mindset when it comes to movies and storytelling has totally changed from what it was back in the day, where you could accept it for what it is, have fun with it. You didn't need to overanalyze it, and you didn't need to know every little, details. Now, forget about it, because I don't want to say social media is a big factor of it, but it is. There you go. You and I, we were in the beginning part of this, doing Halloween topics and making that our thing on YouTube. So you know how that goes. You have to keep creating content. And by creating content, you need to dive deeper and start peeling back more layers than really taking what this movie and this franchise is. It's a slasher movie. It's not meant to be hereditary and have layers. And, yes, you can have moments like that in the film, you know what I mean? That symbolize something, but I don't need a 90-minute Halloween film that's like Hereditary, where I'm having to go back and did I see this? Because every time, I don't watch Hereditary that often. I've only seen it 3 times, but in the 3 times that I've seen the film, I always like, oh shit, I never recognized that before. I didn't see that before. Because that's the type of film Hereditary is. I don't need that with Halloween, and Halloween's not meant to be like that. But because of content creating, and because that's what like almost everybody and their brother now is doing on YouTube, it's taking these movies and diving in deeper, more so than you need to, than taking for what it is, which is just simply a slasher film. And that's it. And that's all they set out to do 40 something years ago, was to create a simple, scary movie set on Halloween night. And that was it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't in this, they didn't project any of this shit.
No. And I've not to beat a dead horse here, but I have said this many times. I don't need to see a Loomis story, a backstory with him and Michael, or just him on his own, or everything I need to know about the character, I already know. Yeah. And I've always said this, that I think Dr. Loomis was a pretty average psychiatrist before Michael Myers. I don't think there was anything. You don't want to water down the impact of Loomis's relationship with Myers by telling Loomis the early years, because then you're going to have to fill his patience with some pretty crazy characters. And
and you're only going to get maybe half, and I'm being generous, half of the fan base, Halloween fan base, would go and see. I'm not going to go see it. Well, would you go see it?
No, but I don't think I don't think they would do that as a movie.
I'm saying if they did do it, they're not going to generate the numbers at the box office because nobody's going to care.
They would never do that as a movie. They would do it as like a television series, and I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think, first of all, Halloween fans have to understand that this is a very small bubble. And I think people think that the Halloween fandom is bigger than it really is. It's really not that big. I mean, it's big. It depends on what you're measuring it against.
Look, we're not generating Marvel numbers at the box office.
No, and it's but in terms of the Loomis story, I just don't need to see it. I respect that there are people out there that love to know everything, that love backstories and watching. I am somebody that has always been a person who really appreciates less is more. I love theater of the mind. I don't need to be told everything. I just need to be told enough. Take that and put it at a tattoo somewhere. I don't need to be told everything. I just need to be told enough. And what I mean by that is enough so this, the story makes sense. The narrative is cohesive. Everything is flows and everything's fine. But I don't need to know about Loomis's backstory. His character served I just don't need to know that. It just feels like we're just beating a dead horse and extending this series for the sake of it. It's not that interesting to me. Michael was just a crazy kid that went fucking nuts, and he had a psychiatrist that believed there was something more. Okay.
And he just happened to escape at a time when security in this country wasn't where it is today, where everything is,
something like that. But I respect, again, different strokes for different folks, different levels of fandom.
Actually, no, he was in minimum security, so he would have had a good chance of being able to escape.
Yeah. But I do understand and recognize that there are some people out there that just love that kind of stuff. More and more. I get it.
I know. And look, that's why these YouTubers make these videos. I don't get it because I can't sit there and watch videos like that. I'd rather do other stuff with my time. But
I sometimes get asked why I'm not making as many leading up to ends or kills as I was leading up to 18. And I often say that the reason is because in the lead up to 18, it was the first Halloween movie in nearly a decade. It was the first Halloween, it was the hype. It was everything. We had no idea. I mean, everything around it. Nick Castle was back. Curtis was back. Carpenter was back. They were erasing all the sequels except for the first movie. They were going back to the roots and doing this.
A lot to work
there
with.
Was a lot, but there was a lot of like, wow, what's going on here? What's happening? Well, now we've been on the ride. We've seen, the movies. We've seen that they produce. And so it's not as exciting. To me, it's not as exciting. So instead of covering everything and anything, I want to cover stuff that matters. So, Halloween ends, finish, shooting. Okay, well, I will cover that. I'll talk about that. I'll give you my thoughts and my insights. If I come, often I'll check in with a few people that I know who are connected to the Halloween universe. And if I get little tidbits of information that I'm able to talk about, I'll talk about it, things like that. But yeah, there are certain.
Well, there's a burnout too. I mean,
there's a burnout, but
how many times can we have like the same discussions about Halloween and before you finally just like reach the point where like, man, I am tapped.
That's it. It's about new information, right? You want to have some new information.
All right, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Because
George
I got a
Stiegel
busy day tomorrow.
says, thank you guys. Glad you like the idea. AK Channel TV says, if this ending is divisive, they have failed. The whole point of the trilogy was to get fans on the same page. I prefer them playing it safe. I agree. Michael Hicks sends in a very generous $20. Thank you, buddy. He says, are you guys excited for CinemaCon this week? Universal has a panel Wednesday, and we may get our first look at Halloween Ends, if not online, probably a description of it. You will not see it. Whatever they show, if they show anything, it will not be released to the general public. I can guarantee you that.
I didn't even know what was going on.
CinemaCon, yeah, it's a convention for theater owners, essentially. NATO, okay. I think it is, the North American Theater Owners Association or something to that degree, and it happens every year, and the studios will put together presentations and of their upcoming slate, and it's usually of movies that are coming within the next year, like in the before the end of the year. They will show, sometimes they show trailers, sometimes they show the entire movie. I think Top Gun is the entire film is being played there.
Well, that movie, I mean, that poor movie should have been out like 2 years. It should have been 2 years ago.
It should have been,
but you know what I mean.
Yep. Yeah. No, they're not going to do that with Ends. I'm just saying that sometimes they do that. So that is this week. I think Universal's panel is Wednesday or Thursday or something to that degree. And again, it's not for the public. It's just for press and for theater owners, and it's a big deal in Las Vegas. Okay, and there's that, and then Doug, 1985, Halloween 2018, Kills and Ends. Will all end up being a dream with Laurie waking up after Michael. No, not happening, Doug. Not happening. Don't get that tattoo.
It was all just a dream. Laurie was reading Word Up magazine.
No, don't get that tattooed, Doug. Justin Gordon sends in $4.99. If you were put in charge of Halloween Resurrection and you had to make sense of why Michael was alive after H2O, what would you come up with? I would deny what would I come up with? I don't know. What was the question? If we were in charge of Halloween Resurrection and we had to make sense of why Michael was alive after H2O, what would you come up with?
First of all, the movie shouldn't even exist. And I hope I can still be a proud non-owner of that film. It all depends on what happens here in a few months.
Yeah, I get you.
We'll see. But H2O was such a clean way to, when you look at Halloween 2 and H2O, minus the fact that no one thought to maybe put burn shit on his body, but okay, besides one of many character flaws of Michael in that film, it was a clean way to end that type of trilogy. You know what I mean? She decapitates him, he's done, case closed, end of story. Resurrection just, it makes no fucking sense. I mean, really because you're telling me now that the guy is an ambulance driver wearing the Myers mask. He could have just taken the mask off and just said, I'm not the dude. Or I know Michael broke his larynx, right? Or that's what they want to say, or choked him out to where he couldn't talk. But
something like that.
There's just too many things that happen from the time he sits up, reaches to Laurie. She slams on the brakes. He goes through the fucking window.
Yep.
He stands back up again. Still got the mask on, by the way, through all of this. You know what I mean? And
I don't know what I would have done.
I wouldn't have done anything.
I can't say that what I would have done may not have even been as what they did. I mean, what else do you do?
This is a true story. I actually shared this story with Brooke the other day. Brooke, one of the girls who follows us on the show. When I was working as a radio DJ, I had to promote Halloween Resurrections because, when you work back in the day, that's what you had to do. You couldn't say anything bad about it. I had my female friend who had a great voice call in, and we did this like phone sex thing with Resurrection. I have the bit. I got it on cassette and I got it converted digitally so you could.
That's great.
It is a funny bit. And my friend, hats off to her. She really nailed it. And but yeah, I mean, look, when you're working for radio, you're obligated, especially in a major market like Atlanta, you can't say anything negative about a movie, or that's your job. Especially back in the day, because we didn't have all this now. But yeah, dude, as a fan, I just remember anytime when I would cut from being on air to going off the air, I literally had to throw up in my mouth because I was a fan of Halloween. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm promoting this garbage of a fucking film and talking about it like it's the best thing out there that you got to go see it. And it's just, oh my God, like what the fuck?
It's true. It's true. If you could find that, I'd love to hear that.
I will. I have the cassette tape. I just got to convert it digitally, and yeah, you'll laugh your ass off.
Awesome.
She goes. I just let her go. I was like, just do your thing, and she did.
Nice. Let's see here. Princess Unicorn just sends in $5. Says Judith dabbles in witchcraft and practices on young Michael on Halloween night, and that's the reason why he kills. So it's like a spell. Interesting.
It's kind of thornish.
Yeah, a little thornish, but then that I mean, yeah, like just thinking about the parents and whether the parents were into some shady shit. It's interesting. Doug85 says, okay, I'll hold you to it. If I'm wrong about the dream theory, which I pray I am, I'll donate $100 to your wonderful channel. Doug, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Doug, the reason why I say it's not likely is because it doesn't make any sense narratively. And, you know, it just doesn't, where do you go from there? It doesn't, so that means then that if Laurie wakes up in the hospital, well, then what? What? So 2's canon and then H2O is canon now, and that means Resurrection's canon. Like I don't. It doesn't. It's just don't get it tattooed, Doug. That's all I'm saying. Don't get it tattooed.
Yeah, definitely don't get it tattooed.
Don't get it tattooed. Don't get it tattooed. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I think we did it. I think. Okay, so there we go.
We did it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our 150th episode here on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. If you've made it this far, or if you're watching after the fact, thanks for sticking around. My apologies if I seemed a little disjointed on today's episode. I'm still trying to get back into the swing of things. I've been under the weather this past week, so just trying to kind of, there was a couple of moments where I was like, I kind of lost my train of thought. I wasn't my typical, usual, sharp Dave McRae self, but this was a good warm-up for future shows. 150th episode. Thank you to our great moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber. Thank you to all the super chat questions that came in today. Really appreciate that very, very much. And hey, if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let Tony and I know your thoughts. Start the discussion below. We would really like to know your thoughts. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, good shit.
It was a good shit. It was a good show.
Yeah, good show.
It was a good show. Tony and I will be back next week, and I should have a couple of videos or shows this week, hopefully. I have a few ideas rolling around in my noggin. So yeah, have a great rest of your Sunday night, folks. And Tony and I will talk to you soon. Alrighty. Cheers. Wait, there we go. I almost had the wrong one.